Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Van Hamer, and I am with Beltline to Broadway, and I'm so excited about this because I am with Kayla, who is now off camera. So I'm going to just put her on solo layout because she's so darn cute. You don't have to see my face; you know what I look like. And Kayla's in this gorgeous, beautiful, magnificent show that I cannot say enough about, called Paradise Square. And I'm so happy you're with me because I want to shout it from the rafters that I want everybody to see this show.
Yeah.
It is smart and beautiful, and we're going to talk all about it. But before we talk about that show, I first met you when you were on tour in Book of Mormon, and you were just coming into the tour, so you were just starting. I think you were in Denver at the time.
Yeah. Wow. What's that, 2018?
It was a long time ago. And what I loved, I mean, there were so many things I love about Paradise Square, but now you're in Paradise Square, you're understudying Nellie. Can you talk about your growth? Because I can see it as an audience member, but your growth as an artist between then and now.
Yeah. I am so honored that you're starting with that. Like, it makes me very happy because I can't believe where I stand right now. I couldn't believe it at that time when I was with Book of Mormon. And when I was with Book of Mormon, that was all an entirely new experience. Not that I'm new to theater, but it was more so like, I didn't think anyone would trust me to be a principal. And that was mostly an internal struggle that I was having. I didn't think I had enough experience. I didn't think that I was ready, and I was just starting out my career as like the budding professional, and they gave me that immense responsibility, and I got to do it for a year and a half. But with full transparency, I was petrified the entire time that I was with Book of Mormon. That kind of vulnerability, that kind of spotlight was something I did not want to have at that time. Very lucky to have, but scary, scary, scary. She's a girl with anxiety. So to grow from that point to now, the growth is immense. It makes me very proud. Once again, I had that kind of imposter syndrome when I got Paradise Square of like, they're trusting me with this role of Nellie. And at that time, it had not made it to Broadway. We had not done our Tony Awards performance. No one really knew what Nellie encompassed. Now they do, right? We've made that mark.
We all know Nellie.
We know Nellie now. Thank God. But at that time, I could see, I was like, this is an intense, a role that requires a lot of responsibility. And I was honored to do it. And I had Joaquina Calacango, our Nellie through and through. I had her as a master class. I mean, she is just a lesson. Being in the rehearsal room with her, being on stage with her, I'm taking notes. I'm learning lessons every single day, and we all are. And with her guidance, I found how to play this character in a way that is not reciprocating what Joaquina does, but in a way of like making it my own, standing in my own power, believing in myself. If I crack, I crack. If I mess up, if something goes wrong, it's live theater. That's what's supposed to happen. And she's so well at handling all those little kinks that come with live theater. She does it all the time. And I attribute all the confidence that I have in myself right now to just being able to watch her do such a vulnerable thing night after night after night and conquer it. And I've risen with her. And I would say the whole cast has done the same. We rise with her.
I love that. It's otherworldly, honestly, watching her performance. There are very few performances that I walk away from and just think, oh my gosh. And a lot of people are like, okay, we saw the Tony Award performance. That's the big 11 o'clock number, whatever. But it's not just that number. This show, I feel like almost every main character has a moment.
Yeah.
And almost every other song is a show-stopping song.
For sure.
And it is one of those shows, if you've never been to one of these shows where people do a standing ovation in the middle of the show, this is one of those where people stop the show because she is I mean, she's captivating.
Yeah.
But as is the whole cast.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you a little bit about the imposter syndrome because I hear this so much, especially from Black and brown actresses
Yeah.
or female identifying actresses. They just, it takes them a little while to find their voice, to find their footing. So we have a lot of people. Today is all about focusing on our advocacy work and on our theater on racial negativity work. And so
Snaps.
we have a lot of those discussions, and we have a very large Black and brown audience who follow us because of those conversations. But for those people of color, Black and brown girls out there who feel the same way you do, because this is something I've heard so much, where you did when you got that with the Mormon gig.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I wish I could give them a hug. It's so much more than words. Growing up in theater, I fell in love with theater when I was a little kid. From my parents would take me to different performances as they would roll through. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and we got the chance to see Broadway shows as they'd come through. But I distinctly remember falling in love when my mom took me to see the movie musical Chicago. And we sat in the front row at the movie theater to watch it. I had no idea what it was. I honestly think at that time I couldn't even understand the concept of musical. And I fell in love with it. And in that movie, Deidre Goodwin, we all know her for being he ran into my knife, and it's like those small moments of representation. Queen Latifah in that movie. I mean, I have always wanted to be Roxy and Velma and all of that comes with it, but you have very small roles to grasp onto as a Black person, as a person of color. There are these very like small highlights that you grab onto and you go, I see myself in that little pocket. We're so fortunate that we're having these conversations now and that they're starting to become more roles like Nellie. We focus so much, literally collaborating as a cast to make this work together. We focus so much on making sure that she is more than a strong Black woman and making sure that she has facets, because we rarely get to see that. I rarely got to see that growing up. There's so much more than the strong Black woman prototype, right? So I tell them, and I wish it could be physical, because every time I get girls at the stage door currently who cry and go, you're this person for me now, and first thing I do is give them a hug, and I have to say, look at what's around you, look at what we're doing, look at those spaces, but also think outside of that box, because I always grew up going, yes, there is the Squish character, yes, there is the queen, the matron Mama Morton. But I also went, but I want to be Elle Woods. I want to be Kathy in Last 5 Years. I want to be Elphaba. And at that time, we didn't see people of color doing those kinds of roles. Now we are on the West End. They have a person of color doing Elle Woods. My dream, right? So it's like we have to think bigger for ourselves, because we're the only people who are going to do that.
I love that you said that too. I think I'm hoping Broadway is changing.
It is.
I hope that we're seeing a shift. I don't think we've shifted far enough, but it's slow.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, there are constant conversations. There are more people who are willing to put themselves out there and speak on the need that we need. But it is slow. I mean, at the end of the day, Broadway itself, professional theater, is a business. So we are struggling with both sides of representation and passion and what the artist deserves and the business side.
Andre Jordan will be here with me later. He's such a fabulous advocate. He was in the show Diana. And he's such a fabulous advocate for BIPOC voices on Broadway. So I can't wait to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this obsession that I now have with high school.
And you just saw it, so it's
like I saw it literally 2 days ago. I haven't stopped thinking about it. And this is to give people a little bit of the background, because I really didn't know what it was about either. So I want people to know what it's about. It's it's set in the 1800s,
Mhm.
although it could be set today, because I was like, I kind of forgot that it's a period piece, but it is a
Truly.
period piece.
Truly, yeah.
Set in the 1800s.
That's cool.
In this saloon.
Yeah.
That called Paradise Square, which is this haven where in the Five Points neighborhood of New York City, where Irish immigrants and blacks are business owners and dance together and marry, have families together,
Yeah.
love each other. And
In America's first slum, too. So, I mean, the underdogs of Manhattan.
and it shows, there's a little bit of politics in it. There's a lot about racism in it. There is a little bit about the Underground Railroad history.
Mhm.
There's just so much history packed into this.
Yeah.
I compared it to a ragtime. It's not an easy watch. It's not like you're going to sit back in your seat and drink your wine and laugh and cry. But I think Ragtime's a masterpiece. I think Caroline for Change is
Absolutely.
a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
And I really do think Paradise Square fits into that category once people discover it.
Yeah.
And so we just have to get people to discover it.
Yeah.
What has been your experience working on this gorgeous piece?
Oh man, well, first off, when I joined in Chicago, there was already about 70% of the cast that had come from the production that was held in Berkeley about 4 years ago. So they had already had such a rich knowledge of what this was, what this community was. And when we added on about the other 30% of new people who joined in Chicago, we had so many mentors to walk us through the community of this piece. And I think that's where the heart lies in our show, is our connection with each other. We're really lucky to have a cast of 40.
40.
A lowly small cast of 40. And just like this community that we are charged to build in the 5 Points, we have fallen in love with each other through and through in a way that I've never experienced. I mean, theater is always a family experience, but this cast is something special, and we have truly made sure that we have built this community. So, well, I remember one of our first projects when we came in Chicago, our dance captain, Chloe, she said to us, so you all the new people, you all have to pick names. She was like, we need to know who you are, and we need to know your story. We need to know where you come from. So on that stage, we all have deep-rooted stories, relationships. I mean, we play within that world. And that's what makes it so special. I'm sorry, am I losing track of the question?
No.
Bring me back to the question.
It's all good. What has experience been like? Because it is,
yeah,
it does look like a family.
It's all rooted in this community of this company of actors that I get to play with. That is the experience. The experience is that we love each other, we take care of each other, we love this piece. We it's interesting being a part of an original Broadway show.
Original Broadway show.
Toss.
Because everybody's screaming for original musicals. This is an original musical.
This is it.
I mean, there's other great musicals on stage right now, but this is an original, and so we're have to support the work.
That's what I'm saying. It's what we ask for. Every time we see, not to put down on the movie musicals, but every time we see the movie musicals, we go, oh, another one, because we just want to see fresh ideas along with the commercial entertainment. So I can't believe I'm at the point of my career where I get to say I'm in an original Broadway show. But what comes along with working in an original Broadway show is the collaboration. And we were so lucky. Hi, that's a friend of mine. We were so lucky within this process to have our voices heard the whole way. So we could say things like, I'm not sure so-and-so would do this. I'm not comfortable saying this. And we could speak as theater lovers, as audience goers, and say, this is not the experience I would want to have. This is the experience I would want to have, and have that kind of input to build this, what you've lovingly called a masterpiece. But what we also in our hearts consider a masterpiece of a show. And that's why we do it. We're the Broadway's underdog, is what we keep saying, playfully, lovingly, because we just haven't had the advertisement, the discovery that I really truly feel the piece deserves. But what keeps us coming back every day, performing for what audience is there, is that this piece is stunning to us.
Visually, I think when you come to Broadway, you want to see a big Broadway show. You want to see a big spectacle.
Yes.
This has, I I almost want to see it again. The design of this show is so gorgeous. The lighting, the set. And I was so focused on the story, I felt like I just want to go again just to see some of these other elements.
And that's what we tell people. It's crazy because when I was with Book of Mormon, people would come out in droves all the time. This is my 10th time, my 20th, my 50th time, my 100th time, and that's something you expect with the Book of Mormon. With our show, we've only been open 3 months, and we have so many consistent goers, consistent comers, because they are like, every time I find something new, every time I see something new. And personally, that's the experience I want to have as an audience member. I don't want to see the same thing every single time. I want to see those nuances that are threaded throughout the piece.
There's a lot of, we're not going to talk about, there's just a lot of noise about what's happening behind the scenes in the show, off stage in the show.
Yes.
I don't want to focus on that, but what I do want to focus on is you and the cast really collaborated to make this piece your own.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about the collaboration process and having your voice heard, because
Yeah.
I think the perception is that you all didn't.
Yeah.
And yet when I saw it, I was like, oh no, yes they did.
Yes, we did. And that's the thing. Like, you're very accurate in saying there's a lot of noise around what happens behind the scenes with our production. That's true. And there's a lot that we encounter. There are hurdles and things that we have to fight for. But again, we as a cast are really, we keep saying they don't know who they were messing with this company, because we are so vocal and we will consistently fight for ourselves. And we are theater lovers, theater nerds, and we fight for our material. That is, and I would say out of the fights that we fight all the time, that is the one that we are most proud of accomplishing and winning, that we can stand on our stage and go, we are proud of this. Because the people who are hands-on with this production, with what happens on stage, those people who should be there and should be hands-on, they care about the material. So at the end of the day, there is a lot of noise, there is a lot of stuff going on, and we as people are dealing with a lot, but we as artists are trying to bring the experience that we would want to have at the theater, right? So we're constantly, I mean, our backstage, behind the scenes talk is one thing. Our backstage is lit. We are, we as a family, as a company, we are making it for ourselves, because as long as we're staying open, we want to give the audience exactly what we intended from the beginning. Since they were in Berkeley, since we were in Chicago, we knew what this piece could be. It has arrived to what we have wanted it to be. And obviously with art, things change, and there are still more things that we're like, oh, we should have done this. We should have tightened this. We should have whatever. We always have notes, but that's because we've had such input. We've been giving that space, and we're very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful for that.
I love that. The best dancing on Broadway, period, hands down.
I'll take it.
I did see, now I haven't seen MJ, and I know there's great dancing in there.
Yes,
so
there is.
I'm not dissing MJ, okay? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. And what I love so much about the dance in this piece is you've got Irish culture, you've got this very deep-rooted Black Gullah Geechee dancing culture, and yet
little Juba, yeah.
Somehow these two dance styles weave together in the most gorgeous way. I know you're a trained dancer. Talk about the choreography and the dance in this piece.
Oh man, I think our show, I speak with hesitation, only because I'm so passionate that there's so many things I could say. First off, I don't even know who to attribute that mind baby to. Like to think about the Irish dance and the Black historic juba and the classic movement that we have on both ends, collaborating, meshing as one. Uh, it was a real thing, but a hidden secret, and it takes a genius to think of it now. It really does. Um, we've had an amazing dance team helping us out. Our associate choreographer and dance captain, who is also on stage with us every single night, Chloe Davis, who is also an author and a scholar and well, a superhuman of a being. Her, along with our Hammer Step boys, who are our Irish dance team that we call them the bad boys of Irish dance. I mean, they are not your typical river dance guys. They have somehow made Irish dance so cool. You know, so cool. And and it's Irish dance. And we have a lot of people that go, you have tap. And it's like, no, it's not tap. It is pure Irish dance. And it's very nuanced. It's very specific. And no one can do it like our boys do it.
And I'm just going to say this because we're going to keep it real on this podcast.
Yeah.
This is the best looking group of men on stage.
I remember one of the first.
I'm so sorry.
And one of them is my boyfriend, so I get to boast. Yeah. The very tall Irish dancer. He's mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's taken.
He's taken. But it's true. One of the very first viral tweets that went out about our show that we found were like, they're talking about us, was just someone had come to the show and they were like, come to see the boys in suspenders alone. That's what you come for. Like, if you need one reason, it's the boys in suspenders. But all around, a very attractive cast. Yes.
It's a pretty attractive cast.
Very attractive cast.
And the fancy footwork. We were fortunate enough to be really close, and so watching the footwork and it's stunning. So
Intricate.
The dancing. The other thing I love about this piece, and here's where the ragtime connection is for me, is a lot of shows are a little bit of exposition of song, a little bit of exposition of song. This is, I think I put on my stories, this is storytelling at its finest.
Wow.
And that's where the connection to ragtime is, because to me, I got so soaked up into ragtime because of the storytelling, and I felt the same way here.
Yeah, wow.
So talk to me about that story, because I feel like me as an audience member got sucked up into it, but I feel like you all are in it.
We are. We are, and it's true. That's a testament to the storytelling that we're giving. I could be having the worst day of my life, and then I go into the theater, and no, not even going to the theater. I get on the stage and the curtain goes up, and we're transported. It's a whole nother world. And again, as we take care of each other off stage, it's a different kind on stage, because now we are these characters. My sweet character, her name is Lima Bean. My ensemble character, Lima Bean Sanders, and she's married to someone, and she has, best friends, and she's looks up to Nellie and blah, blah, blah. And we just feed into that energy of like, we are representing real people, real, undiscovered, unheard people. And honestly, on Broadway, we kind of feel the same, right? Undiscovered, kind of swept under. I mean, especially, again, we're going to be real on this podcast. If you want to talk about the reviews, we were so stunned when we got our reviews, because we were just like, this is necessary theater. And I stand behind that every second. It's easy to tell the story. It's new. It's new in concept, but it's an old story, and I've never seen anything like it.
No, I've never seen anything like it either. And we have a Critics Fellow program, because I really do believe we need more critics of color.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I think if critics
Agree.
of color see this piece, they're going to see it and
I agree.
interpret it in a much different way. And
I agree.
So we have a critics cohort, and one of our fellows lives here in New York.
Mhm.
And so she came, she was my date to Paradise Square.
Oh, sweet Shay. Oh, she
Sweet
was
Shay.
sweet.
Oh my goodness, yes, sweet Shay. She'll be with us tomorrow. You'll get to know her a little bit. But what Shay and I were talking about afterwards is we all want to see, it's very easy for us to see stories where Black people are downtrodden and beaten, like,
Yeah,
it's like the trauma narrative over and over and over again.
for sure.
To me, there's a lot of trauma woven into this piece and into the story, but this is an empowerment story.
Yeah, well,
And
I mean,
that's what I loved about it. And Shay was saying, yeah, people aren't used to seeing that out of Black people on stage.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And when we were in the process of rehearsing for the show, building the show, I mean, even from an artist standpoint, I mean, we stand here, Black people in 2022 in America, going through horrible trauma at this time. And we're like, the last thing we want to do is relive trauma throughout an entire 2.5 hour show.
Amen.
And we are vocal about that. That is the last thing that we want to do. We want to make our money, we want to make our check, but we're not going to do it at the expense of just, so we made sure that those voices within the story are, again, multifaceted. There were not just a lot of American history will tell you in the 1860s, Black people were slaves. And there are no facets to that. So in our show, a lot of people don't talk about the lesbians that we have.
I love that moment.
We have gay characters, we have lesbians, we have beautiful moments of joy and laughter. We have rich Black folk in Manhattan, which business owners who dress well and speak well and run communities. You don't get to see that part of history often.
Mixed race families, which I really love. You don't see that on stage too often.
And let's talk about all the mixed race families that come to the show and go, oh, that's us. You don't get to see a lot of mixed race families, period, in theater.
Story. Yes, I love, and I was so moved by that because I was just like, I haven't seen anything like it on stage. I loved it so much.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Tonys. Did you get to perform at the Tonys?
I did. Oh, the Tonys. Oh man. It's interesting because this show in itself has checked off so many boxes of things that I thought would be like, and eventually we'll get to the Tonys, and eventually we'll get to the OBC, and eventually we'll get to the Broadway principal, and it's like check in a matter of months. The Tonys were incredible. And again, let's talk about behind the scenes fights, right? Like initially it was going to be just a performance of Joaquina doing Let It Burn, which will always shut the house down, obviously. She's a powerhouse, but even Joaquina will tell you she does not do that show without the support that is on stage with her. Joaquina is held up and lifted by the community that is around her. Joaquina is, not just Nelly, right? So, and when we heard that it was just going to be her at the Tonys, and we as passionate artists wanted to represent so much more of what this show is, because of course, Joaquina's a beautiful highlight. Everyone's heard Joaquina's name at this point. We were like, we want them to see this world. We want them to know what they're getting when they come into the theater. So again, we fought for the 45 seconds or whatever we had of dance. And that piece that was created for the Tonys, again, by our Hammer Step boys, our Irish dancers, and Chloe, that piece that we created is not just one piece from the show. It's an amalgamation of all the different things that we do, our favorite moments of highlight. We said, what's your favorite move? We put those in there, and we made 45 seconds of our community. That was our showcase. And getting to do that, it was unfortunate we couldn't have our entire cast there. We had half the cast there, 20 or 50%, 20 people. And being able to represent just what we all do together, that meant more to us than anything else. Being able to represent our show in that way meant the most to us. Added on top of doing the performance and getting a full standing ovation from Radio City Music Hall, which is 3,000 seats.
Yep.
I mean, I used to perform at Radio City Music Hall. It was my first job when I came into New York. And I did the Radio City Christmas Spectacular. And I have never seen the entirety of Radio City Music Hall come to its feet. Never. Never. For the Rockettes. Never. And we got immediate, everyone came to their feet. And I'm having this wow moment of looking at RuPaul, Cynthia Erivo, oh my gosh, my voice. I'm sorry. I'm going to cuss. Lawrence Fishburne, Jennifer Hudson in the front row, Bernadette Peters in the front row, and they are standing there clapping for our performance. That was a mark on my life, on our lives, that we will never forget. We walked out of that performance, and at that time, we'd already known that we lost Best Choreography, and that's fine. MJ is a beautiful piece, but we really had high hopes for that one because we just knew how much that the choreography adds to our show. And so we went out there with a fire. I mean, we call it like we were like animals in a cage, and when they opened up that curtain, we went out with a fire. And I think that energy radiated and still radiates to this day. I mean, you can tell even in something as superficial as YouTube views. I mean, it's the most watched Tony performance of the night, and I think it's going to go down in history as one of the best.
I do believe it will go down as one of the best performances. And I do believe that just as Danielle Brooks and Cynthia Erivo gave her Tony, which was such a beautiful moment, that you are going to be up there getting your Tony, and it's going to be like Joaquina.
From Joaquina and my wife in the show, Haley. We've talked about this moment. She was like, Joaquina, she's like, I can't believe that happened. And now I'm like, but we are feeding right underneath that. I just feel that energy. We're next, that kind of thing. It's very exciting.
I love this. All right. I want to give you time to wander the halls of Broadway Con.
Because this is so cool, and I'm such a nerd too, and I hear people singing, and I just want to go watch.
People are singing, people are doing, but thank you so much. I want to go see Paradise Square.
Please, please, please.
You will not be disappointed. I would tell people, because I am a nerd and I read my playbills and I look at the show's website. On the show website is an educational packet made for kids, but even if you're not a kid, it will give you the history of this piece so that you'll know what you're walking into, and you'll know that what you're watching is a fictional depiction of real life historical.
Yeah, it will hold the weight of what's going on, because I think some people have trouble understanding the concept. They go, did you all do colorblind casting? Sometimes we get that kind of question. And it's like, no, this is very real. This is it, So I think that's important. And if I can nail home, just support us, because we love what we are doing, and we love this show. So see it while you can.
Yes, support artists, support local artists. Yes, you want to see that Tony performance, but honestly, that Tony performance was just the icing on the cake, because leading up to it, there are so many show-stopping moments. So go see it. Okay, that's your TED. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Yeah, right off my soapbox.
And thank you for being here with me. I love you so much.
Thank you, Lauren.
I
I love you.
See what happens next. Your career is just, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And you're getting married. So
yeah, very soon, right? It's fine. It's really cute. You're all invited to the wedding.
It's all good. So, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.